Namaste. We're going to be doing yin flow today, and the yin flow is a little bit of active. Majority of it's going to be passive. We're going to have a quiet contemplative practice. You could do some inner investigative work on yourself. One thing I want you to focus on is when we're holding the yin poses for a prolonged period of time, notice when we're steeping in the poses and we're forming stillness where the concentration of the stretch goes. And notice in the aftermath, it begins to disperse. We trust the body's natural intelligence to take the healing energy exactly where it needs to go. And when we are specifically dropping into the hips is all about a deep trust and surrender. So let's go ahead and begin on the mat. We're going to start with Banana Asana, which is on our backs, creating like a crescent moon shape. So I'll meet you on the mat. We'll start lying down, bringing the feet over to the right, curving the upper body to the right as well. So with your upper body swaying also to the right, make sure that both shoulder blades, both sides of your seat, and both heels are at rest on the ground. Start to come home to your breath, breathing in and out through the nose. Getting more emphasis into your left lung. Improving the quality of the breath so you can purify the lungs. Opening up the intercostal muscles in between each rib. Notice where you're feeling the main pocket of sensation. And your next inhale, let's bring ourselves to center. Bring the arms back beside you, palms open, like a corpse pose. Heightening your inner awareness to focus on that same pocket. Maybe the sensation is fading. Maybe you feel the energy or circulation dispersing from there. And then we'll inhale, stretch the arms back overhead. Exhale, walk the feet over to the left, and then swerve the upper body the same direction. With that same inner eye of awareness, looking into your side body, improving the breath supply to your right lung. Noticing if the sensation is forming in the same area as it did on the other, or if it's above or below. Stronger or less than. Inhale, let's slowly come back to center. Take corpse pose. So you probably already noticed a little yoga can go a long way. Sometimes all we need is a pose or two to get a kink out of the body. Sometimes we need some deep breath work to bring or build patience, to build or bring focus to the mind, or presence to a conversation. On your next inhalation, start to draw the knees in towards your side body. Take a hold of the feet with your hands, and we're forming happy baby pose, Ananda Balasana. So if we were doing this in a more active manner, I would be asking you to really focus on rooting and anchoring your sacrum. But the alignment cues and rules don't really apply with a yin approach. So the only thing I'm asking you to do here is to find your feet and to gently pull downward and to notice how that will dig a little deeper in the hips. Close your eyes. Focus on what you're feeling. Perhaps noticing one side may be more sensitive or heightened than the other. With each breath you take, think about each exhalation chiseling some of that away, whether it's stuck emotions, how habits may be showing up, or where you might have stored some stress. Release your grip of the feet, you roll over to one side of your body. And then we're going to build our way up to a seat. When we come to a seat, your feet are going to be stacked in front of the knees. And we're going to slide the left foot underneath. Actually, let's do it this way. Slip your right foot underneath your left knee. Lace your fingers around the sole of the foot. And if you need a strap, you can use a yoga strap. Notice when we start to grab the foot and lift it up, how we have the tendency to round the back. So it's really important to elongate the vertebrae, even if you need to keep the knee bent. If you keep the knee bent, all you have to do is push up and out through the left heel to activate the hamstrings if you're not feeling them already. If you have more limber hamstrings, you can try to straighten out the leg. And if that still feels available and you can go deeper, you're bringing the leg a little closer to the face. But remember, just because you can doesn't always mean you should. So I'm going to pause here in Crouch Asana, Heron pose. Let your shoulders descend from the ears. And for a little experimental practice, notice why. If you slump your posture, notice how you lose the emphasis of the stretch. And this is meant to be a more active approach. Create space between each vertebra. Continue to hold the left foot with your left hand, but open it to the side. Now we were on the back side of the sit bones. So you may notice when you open the leg apart from the body, once you abduct it, you can shift forward to the front side or the top of the sits bones again. We're working through the inseam of the leg. Now bring the leg, pass it through center, swap hands to hold it. Now we're working the outseam of the leg, that connective tissue of the fascia. Bring the arm in front and swirl to your left, taking a twist in the mix. Breathe well. Exhale, bring that left hand around. I want you to notice something. If I were just to keep that same hand hold and bring the foot down, notice how the knee stays lifted, and we want it to drape. So if you could grab the underside of your heel, bring the foot down so that the top leg can lay over the bottom for shoelace. Test the waters here, because sometimes we're feeling enough in the hips where we don't need to do any more than this. But if you have the extension in the back and you have a nice sense of freedom in the hips, then go ahead and walk the hands out and bow down. In the yin approach, it's okay to release your body weight onto your lap, to sink your head. Soften your brow, the crease between the eyes. Soften your sensory organs, even your jaw. And if you're doing the yin approach, relax your belly. Know that even though the stretch is concentrated in one particular area, when we release from that, it creates this ripple effect. Think about when you were a child, and maybe learning how to skip stones across a river or the top of a lake. Think about every time that stone skimmed over the water, there was a ripple effect that formed, especially in the area where it dropped down below the surface. slowly start to back our way out. When we back our way out, we're going to take the left leg off to the side, slide the right heel in front of the pubic bone. And if you need to approach it in an active way, you'll flex the foot, ground the back of the leg, and keep a straight back as you fold. If you want to make it more yin, it doesn't matter about the structure, just maintain a lengthened low back before folding. And then, of course, after that, you can release and round down. So that sitting sequence was warming us up for this deeper sequence. And remember, if we're just focused on the physical aspect of the pose and the physical sensation that we're experiencing, we're really staying at the surface level. So dive deeper. Try to move into the recesses of your mind. Try to move into the deepest cave of your heart. Try to go beyond the physical, beyond the sensation. Slowly start to back away from that stretch. Once you do so, lift the right knee, walk the left foot in. Slide, wait a minute, your left foot under. Lace your hands together around the sole of the right foot. We're taking Crouch Asana Heron. Again, noticing it's so easy to lose your postural alignment. So begin to lift up through the crown of your head, lift up through your heart, even if it means having that right knee bent, pushing up through the heel energetically. If you can move the leg closer in towards the face, feel at liberty to do so. And then abduct the leg away from you, hand to the hip. After opening up the inside, let's operate more on the outside. So swap hands. Reach the right arm forward and spin to the right. Exhale, unwind. And this is where we need to swap the hand hold. Scoot that left knee so it's facing the center of your mat. Lay the top leg over for shoelace. Prep by extending your spine. And this morning, when I did this practice, this was actually all I needed because I had something kind of showing up. But it feels like I released it out. So I'm now able to fold. And pay attention because things do change day to day, moment to moment. And this is working the gallbladder meridian according to Chinese medicine. And things that can show up here, obviously things that we do physically with our body, but it could also be irritability, frustrations, anger, things that may have triggered us to feel that way. If the sensation fades, then you're welcome to go lower. If it increases to the point where it's becoming your sole focus or you can't comfortably breathe, I would back out. Inhale it slowly back away. Take the right leg open, slide your left foot in. And when you're ready, walk it out in front of you. Consider what type of ripple effect you would like to send out today. And you might have already done it. If you've been out and about, you've been smiling to strangers, sharing a piece of your joy. That can be very contagious. And even though a person may not have smiled back, you could have directly influenced or impacted their mood from that point on and don't even realize it. Sometimes these ripple effects are intentional, sometimes unintentional, conscious or unconscious. Years ago, I read this article about smiling and how it can alter not only what you're feeling, but what other people are feeling. It mentioned a child counting, playing a game really, because they were bored in the car and they were smiling to different people as they were driving by. And they counted to see how many people responded back. Now let's slowly start to up. We're going to slide the right foot in, the left foot out, coming into a squat. Now, even though I'm lifting off the floor here, I know this is not great for everyone's knees. So if you can sit down, have your feet a little farther away, and even just being here could potentially be your squat. Some people like to sit on a block instead of hovering above the floor, but we are going to be more yin in the approach, meaning the elbows point down and we're bowing the head to prayer hands. Notice how grounding this pose can be. Grounding, good for the first chakra. A deep hip release, good for the second chakra. But it also helps to reduce any type of digestive constipation. It's really good for the first three chakras. Release the hands. Slowly straighten your legs. Turn your feet parallel.
Have a soft bend in your knees and fold in half. Heel toe of the feet towards one another. Lift up halfway once you do that. Exhale, flow down, stepping back to plank. Shifting forward, releasing to a prone position. Untuck the toes. Your hands are going to slide forward and a little wider than your shoulders, further ahead of your shoulders, so that you can prop up into this form of seal. If seal is too much, please do Sphinx instead. This is supposed to supply some healthy compression to the low back, but of course that's relative to each individual. So if you feel an impingement, if it's painful, if you have a history of disc trouble in that area of the back, you may want to do Sphinx instead. Smooth out your breath. Hands up underneath the shoulders, push up and back. Width between your thighs. Once you create that nice width, you're going to flip your hands open. Let's see, which one do I want to do first? Let's do left hand in front of the right first. Thread your arms through. Gently lower it down. I like to operate as much as possible from left to right during a more yin practice. The left is the yin or feminine side of the body. It's also the way the prana flows through the body, up the Ida, down the Pingala. So it comes up the channel on the left and down the channel on the right. And the idea is to create a magnetism to activate the Sushumna channel, which is the central channel. When we are embedded in the central channel, then we have more of that unity consciousness. Turn to your left temple and cheek. Sweep the right arm upward and then drape it behind your back. Surrender back to gravity. Curl down into your mat. Release the right arm. Unthread the left. Slide the knees together, arms ahead. And let's take a downward facing dog before we take that practice to the other side. Palms rest down. Hips soar skyward. Stretching everything out. One last breath. And exhale back down to the knees. Untuck the toes. Big toes stay together. And bring that width in between the thighs again. This time the right palm is going to be open and ahead of the left. Slip inside them through. For shoelace arms. So ideally the lacing of the arms is between your chin and your chest. And if your head's kind of hovering, if it doesn't feel comfortable to the neck, you can always supply a blanket or a prop underneath. Inhale, loosen up the left arm. Lower to the right temple and cheek. Circle that left arm and move it behind you. And feel free to close the eyes. So the idea is to go from the gross to the subtle, not just physically in our bodies, but even mentally. So if you study the Yoga Sutras, it talks about samadhi, the arrival place of our meditation. And even in samadhi, when we arrive to that place of the meditative mind, there is a gross and subtle layer to that. Gently release the back arm. Unthread the right. And I would suggest a bolster for Shavasana. I'm even going to cover up because even though I'm not cold, body temperature drops with relaxation, and I need this today, so I'm going to do it with you. So you may want to trap in your body heat. Feel free to cover with a blanket. Once you get settled, close your eyes. Take the journey within. Do the inner investigative work. Try to breathe your way into a state of relaxation. Even a few minutes of relaxation can have a huge positive ripple effect on our mind, body, and spirit. So let's savor this experience together. next inhale, go ahead and start to bend your knees. Rock them side to side. And then bring yourself up to sit. Taking a moment here to notice any residual effects of the practice. Notice any positive shifts, changes, or qualities. Remember to stay alert, to stay awake, to stay aware, and to notice any positive ripple effects. Bringing your hands to prayer position. The light in me honors and bows respectfully to that which is inside of you. Namaste.